Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Journal of Expressive Writing open mic monthly feature. And it is January 22nd, 2026. I'm so glad that you are all here tonight for the beautiful reading we have planned from the Nature of Our Times anthology, from really just a very small selection of poets who are published in this really very substantial anthology of poetry about nature. And we have wonderfully here Luisa A. Gloria, who is one of the editors of the anthology. She'll be reading her own poetry tonight, as well as telling us a bit about the anthology, how it came together and how it came into being, and all the wonderful information about it. So when I just want to check in with you, Katarina. Are you all set for everything you need? I want to introduce Katarina Konen, who is an award-winning writer herself of essays, and a friend and someone who's been part of the Journal of Expressive Writing behind the scenes now for a long time. Katarina, just give a wave and tell us if you need anything or have any updates for us about the open mic list. Just a reminder, we always sign up only in advance for the open mic. We don't do any night of request to be in the open mic. So you will have already signed up for it. And we have a waiting list. We'll do our best to get through all of the waiting lists. Katarina, anything you want to say about
I
the...
think we're pretty good. Thank you for making the announcement of changing your screen names. That's very helpful to me. And I'm just going to go through and check who's actually here for the open mic. And then I will post an updated list of readers as soon as I have that done.
Great. Okay, so look in the chat room, which stays open throughout our event, please, for any updates from Katarina. And you can also direct message her or Jen if you have a question. Preferably, if it's about the open mic, just direct message Katarina and not me, because I'm busy taking care of other things. But I do want to introduce the Journal of Expressive Writing founder and editor, Jennifer Minotti. So Jennifer, give us a wave. Let us see where you are. Most of you know Jen, but we would not be here without Jen and all the work she does to um, edit the journal and communicate with you in beautiful ways. So thank you, Jen, for having us be here and all the work you do. And would you like to say hello?
Hi everybody. Happy New Year. I'm just super happy to be here and I'm thrilled that you're all here with us tonight too.
Thank you, Jen. And Jen will be sending out a communication in a couple of days, follow up from tonight, including with the recording for any of you who want to see that. So any chance Ed Meek came in, snuck in through the door, one of our readers for tonight? If we see him, just let me know. I'm going to hope he's here. Did anybody communicate with him just to check in and see if he might be coming or having any trouble? Um, Anybody know Ed? Jen, maybe you could. Would you mind? You should have, do you have his email address?
I'm actually not sure, but I will go check.
Okay, let me
I
just,
don't know if I ever did um, communicate with the authors.
okay, I got it. I'm just sending it to you now. I'm just sending you his address in there so you can find him easily.
Great,
Email
thank
to you.
you.
Okay. All right, so let us go ahead and get started. Please feel free throughout the night to put any comments of affirmations, appreciations of people's writing, things you appreciate, whether it's in our first readings or if it's in the following open mic. We really love to hear from you and to support each other. Well, hot off the press in the ecology category is The Nature of Our Times anthology, a Poets for Science anthology and companion to the first national assessment of the U.S. lands, waters, and wildlife. Originally envisioned as a companion to the first U.S. National Nature Assessment, and now to the work of United by Nature, The Nature of Our Times, Poems on America's Lands, Waters, Wildlife, and Other Natural Wonders gathers 210 voices from the arts, ecology, academia, and indigenous communities from North America, giving witness to how nature shapes our lives and how we can shape the future. The anthology is edited by Luisa A. Igloria, who's here with us tonight, Eileen Casaneto, and David Hassler. It features poems from some of the country's best-known poets, including Jane Hirshfield, Kimberly Blazer, Diane Ackerman, Camille Dungy, Naomi Shihab Nye, Arthur Zay, and many more. So The Nature of Our Times is a shared initiative bringing together the joint efforts of Paloma Press, Poets for Science, United by Nature, and Wick Poetry Center at Kent State University. It's made possible with a grant supported from the Ohio Arts Council, the San Mateo County Office of Arts and Culture and Arts Commission, and the Woodward Foundation. This anthology serves as a companion to the first national assessment of U.S. lands, waters, and wildlife. So I want to just introduce, if I could, Luisa A. Igloria, the author of Call Bearer Immigrant Writing Series, Prize, Black Lawrence Press 2024. 14 other books and 4 chapbooks. She's lead editor of Dear Human at the Edge of Time, Poems on Climate Change in the United States, published in 2023, offered as a companion to the fifth National Climate Assessment. Originally from Baguio City, she makes her home in Norfolk, Virginia, where she is the Louis I. Jaffe and University Professor of English and Creative Writing at Old Dominion University. She also leads workshops for and is a member of the board of the Muse Writers Center. Louisa is the 20th Poet Laureate of the Commonwealth of Virginia, Emerita. During her term, the Academy of American Poets awarded her a 2021 Poet Laureate Fellowship. Welcome, Louisa. We're so glad to have you with us tonight.
Thank you so much, Kelly. And thank you to the writing communities connected to the Journal of Expressive Writing. Thank you for making this gathering possible. So my co-editors for this poetry anthology are poets and also wonderful human beings. So these are poet and publisher Eileen Casineto and Poet and Wick Poetry Center's Executive Director David Hassler. In 2024, I think around the end of spring, we sent out a call for submissions for an anthology envisioned, as you heard from Kelly, as a companion to the first National Nature Assessment, which is now being undertaken by United by Nature. They are a group of scientists and practitioners under the leadership of Dr. Phil Levin, who is professor of practice at the University of Washington and lead scientist for the Nature Conservancy of Washington. Our goal was to create a clear and accessible picture of nature across the U.S. through poems. And so we are so happy to let everyone know that we received a little more than 1,300 poetry submissions in total. And all of these are also on the online gallery at natureofourtimes.poetsforscience.org. And if you simply typed in the nature of our times in your search ending, it's probably going to be the first hit that you're going to take. It's going to take you there. And we selected 210 poems for inclusion in the print anthology, and we wanted more, but of course there are physical and material limitations to producing a book. And this was released by Paloma Press in September of 2025. And from the introduction to the book by Dr. Phil Levin, I just wanted to read this little snippet. And he says, and I quote, "The poet's job is to speak what can't be said in any other way. The scientist's job is to seek the truth with rigor and openness. The public's job, our job, is to listen, to learn, and to respond." So we love that idea of how the kind of attention that we bring as poets and artists to the world is really no different from the kind of close attention that other scholars and scientists in their own respective fields have to do their work. In our call for submissions, we asked poets to send us work that shows us through words and images how nature shapes our lives and how we can shape nature's and our future. And we were thrilled to see that besides emerging poets and established poets, as Kelly said, we have our first Asian American U.S. Poet Laureate, Arthur Zay, is in the anthology. Even before he was named Poet Laureate of the U.S., we are so happy to welcome him to the anthology roster. The other contributors include, among others, ecology researchers, wildlife trackers, science directors, a commercial fisherman. There's a teacher of atmospheric physics, a college freshman, an oceanographer, a translator, a carpenter, and I think the picture that we get, that you get, is that this is just such a wonderfully welcoming anthology, and we are hoping that you'll recommend it to all your libraries and book groups for use in your classrooms. Consider it when you are thinking of gifting. I know the holidays are over, but we do have the Lunar New Year coming up. Uh,
Valentine's Day too.
Valentine's Day, right? Thank you. So I'm so happy to be here and to share this reading program with you. And thank you for also inviting me to share some of my work.
Thank you, Louisa. All righty. So is Ed Meek here? That's my question. Did we round him up? All right, no worries. We are going to go ahead with our poets. So I've asked the selection of poets who've come to read here tonight to read their, at least some people have more than one poem in the anthology, but to read a poem from the anthology. And no, everybody has only one. Sorry, Louisa. Thank you for the correction. Okay. I've asked the readers to read their poem from the anthology and then also one additional poem. And I trust that our readers will just keep comments to a minimum just so that we can hear everybody and then get into a bit of a Q&A and then go into our open mic. So our first reader is going to be Chris Barral. And Chris, Katerina, can you find Chris and give her a spotlight for me, please? And Chris, can you just wait 1 second? I'm going to see if I am able to quickly pull up your bio. Is that okay if I do that?
Sure.
I'm going to just pull your bio from the anthology. Chris Barral works for Hush Vineyards,
Mm-hmm.
a regeneratively farmed winery in Anderson Valley, California, and serves on the conservation committee for the town of Egremont, where she currently lives with her husband, Jerry, in the Berkshires of Western Massachusetts. Welcome, Chris Barral.
Thank you so much. And first, I wanted to say what an honor it is to be included in this book. I want to thank Louisa, Eileen, and David, and I want to thank Kelly for putting this together. Um, the title of my poem in the book is called Fractals. Um, One year melts into another, and while every snowflake is unique, once it falls, it blends into the whole, much like the tombstones that rise on the hill in the chill of deep winter. It is no longer the individual, but the collective that blankets the earth in the quiet beauty of silence despair. Falling snowflakes are fractals in winter's fragmentation, patterns that repeat themselves in nature, not unlike us. Naively, I once believed the world was moving forward, daring to ignore the centrifugal force of its rotational pull. Now I know we just spin round and round. A singular cello can be haunting and resonant, but when played with an orchestra, resplendent. We need one another to survive. The grieving orca Taliqua carried her dead calf for 17 days without regard for her own livelihood in the once salmon-rich waters of Puget Sound. Though energy drained, she protected him from wind and waves, comforted only by her tightly knit pod, who mourned by her side. This Christmas, she gave birth again, but by the new year, her new calf was gone. On the brink of extinction, she clings to this lifeless calf still, much as we still cling to hope on the brink of extinction, our world now so deeply fractured in this deep, deep, deep fragmented winter. And my second poem for tonight is titled The Fish. The fish died in the slow pouring off of rainbows. And that's a quote from Mary Oliver. I want to tell you what it was like before the nuclear winter, when dragonflies outnumbered fire-breathing dragons. We didn't believe in dragons then, let alone know that they lived within us. But like Neanderthals in the Stone Age, men always played with fire. But that's not what I'm here to tell you. You want to know what it was like when there was sunshine in the sky. Some days the sun rose golden, crimson, blushing like a ripened peach. Oh, right, a peach, a luscious fruit whose fruit grew plentiful on trees, which too were plentiful. The juices from a fleshy peach could explode upon your tongue. No, not that kind of explosion. More like a burst of honey, summer sweet and succulent, dripping down your chin. Honey? Oh, honey, it was made by bees, and bees pollinated flowers, and there were birds, and flowers were all colors of the rainbow. Rainbows? Rainbows used to arc the sky, sometimes doubled up in brilliant hues of red and orange, yellow, green, and blue, indigo and violet after a rainfall. No, no fallout then from acid rain. Fresh water, water you could drink and swim in, like a fish, long, long ago, when fish swam freely before mankind evolved. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chris Burrell. And now I would like to welcome Joseph Bokikio. And if you'll give me a second, I'm going to introduce you as well. Joseph Bokikio is a poet, translator, educator, activist, and historian who was born and raised in New York City, educated in Kent, Ohio, and now lives in Boston, Mass., where he works as a museum educator. His writing has appeared in 3 Edith Chase chapbooks, as well as in print and in online journals. His creative nonfiction appeared in The Healer's Burden and was nominated for a Pushcart Prize. Welcome, Joseph Bokikio.
Thank you all. Thank you for inviting me, Kelly, and certainly Louisa for including me in the journal and the rest of the editors and David Hassler. So I am going to read from The Nature of Our Times, my piece called One More Animal. One more animal. Frost on fallen apples, thin sunlight through mist, early morning, autumn. I peer from my darkened room at the slowly unveiling day, brooding over coffee, over time spent well or not. I have grown old here in the ancient Ohio countryside, home to coyote, bald eagle, blue heron, and wild turkey. 2,000 years ago, the Hopewell built a burial mound a brief walk from my backyard. I spot a set of antlers rise above the mist, close to the house, nearing the apple tree and its fermenting carpet of decaying fruit. A young buck with a velvet rack emerges as a shadow, then takes shape with each hesitant shape. The sun burns away the last of the fog and warms the apples. The frost glistens into dew as the buck grazes on the fruit, raising its head warily, as prey animals often do. Its neck and shoulders already filled with strength and the promise of strength to come. Old as I am, the tree is older and lives wild and uncultivated, growing into the light, shedding branches in the fierce Ohio storms, sheltering birds, feeding deer, groundhog, buzzing hornets drunk on the overripe flesh of the abandoned harvest. Later, I will rake the bounty into piles, releasing the pungent scent of decay, spreading the mash into the flower garden, just one more animal under a tree. I'd like to read one more, if I may. Thank you. It's called An Empire of Mayflies. It was a season of hornets, poison ivy, and red tip blight. A merlin took a titmouse at the feeder above a cluster of nightshade. There was drought, and an empty cloud raced by, a flagship for an empire of mayflies. I once saw a sparrow drop dead from the sky. The arc of its flight ceased in midair. The bird fell straight down, sadly expressing some law of motion. Its soft, feathered frame hit the ground with a dull plop as the earth rose up to meet it, the attraction of one body for another. Last night I spoke to a rabbit, small talk. It stopped its hop short and stood up with its white tail above the street. Its eyes were as brown as mine. Like the Greeks, the Chinese have a fabled rabbit, and like the tortoise, their ox wins. Unlike the ancients, we have a rat race. The rat that wins get to eat the loser. It is a season of lies and half-truths and truths that dare not be spoken. A shooter takes a child in the playground beneath a cluster of stars in a field of blue atop candy cane stripes of white and red. There are storm floods and a river in the sky. Its boatman expects a coin. Thank you.
Mm. Thank you so much, Joseph Bokikio.
Thank you.
And next up, even though I seem to be alphabetically challenged, is Therese Gleason, and I will come after you, Therese, somehow, but that's okay. So glad you're here, and welcome. So
Thank you so much.
Therese Gleason is author of 3 chapbooks, most recently Hemicrania, Chestnut Review Chapbook Series 2024. Congratulations. Her
Thank you.
writing appears on 32 poems, Indiana Review, New Ohio Review, Rattle, and elsewhere. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and to the Journal of Expressive Writing, and to Louisa and Eileen and David and the editors. It's just a joy to be part of this project and such an honor to have a poem included in the print anthology as well as on the gallery. And I love that it was made so accessible for all. I thought that was beautiful. I'm going to start with my poem from the anthology. This is called Elegy for 1,000 Warblers. So it's kind of a callback to Joseph's poem that he just read, which was beautiful. And it has an epigraph from the New York Times. The 977 birds killed were mostly warblers. The New York Times, June 18th, 2024. Snuffed overnight, their song died with them. A throng of palm and yellow-rumped warblers, indigo buntings, wood thrushes, and soras on their way to warmth and light. The migrants camped outside the city, waiting for the air to cool and the winds to shift. Roosting in groups at night, they foraged for seeds and grubs by day, saving strength for the long flight. They felt winter coming in their bird bones, the chill sharpening into an ache until, with a great flutter of 2,000 wings and the beating of 1,000 tiny hearts, they rose as one song into the night. By the time they sensed the squall brewing in the clouds, it was too late to turn back. The fleet descended, flying too low over the artificial glow that destroyed their night vision, scrambling flight calls. A feathery panic set in. Then the sickening thuds of 1,000 stunned bodies crashing into walls of glass. Inside McCormick Place, lit up for an event, the band played on. In the morning, a pied massacre littered the streets, giving rise to the same old song. Could've, would've, should've. If only we had drawn the blinds, turned out the lights. Thank you. And that was an event that did occur. You may have seen the news coverage for that. There's an author's note about that in Chicago. I'd like to share a poem from my chapbook. This one is called Self-Portrait as Warming Planet. And it begins with an epigraph from Emily Dickinson. I felt a funeral in my brain. The sky burns from the top down, ocean a churn of cinders. My brow molten, I hiss, spitting lava into smoking sea. Singed feathers float. Which way is up? Fish gasp, dolphins pant. I flush, sweat, cry. Don't even try to deny it. Once a friend wrote, I can make a bird fly out of your mouth backwards. I wish I could put things in reverse. My ovaries are misfiring, brain aflame. Is it still a menstrual migraine if you no longer bleed? My skin cracks. It's the end of pink, of green, fields barren, dry. Soon I'll be invisible. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Therese Gleason. Okay, I'm going to take a step backwards to the D's and read now. And what I want to say in terms of introduction about my poem that is in the anthology is simply that I live on the rural Charles River, and also my property abuts of the Rocky Narrows Trustees of Reservations property. And this poem was inspired by walks in those woods. It's called Wood Cycle. 1. Leaf of cracked copper, lace crusted and grayed, you are floor of November. Leave your material, your finite, your matter. Less organ, more humus, more scatter. Spring, sprout more hemlock, black tupelo moss, maple and swamp, wild blueberries, anemones. 2. O geranium, woodsy bloom of perennial rhizome, veined flower of lavender, you butterfly childhood. Each of your seeds curls open when ripe. 3. Pale petal heart of wild rose, so lush on your bush just last Sunday, flung by wind, throb on this surface of swamp, blued briefly by sky before decay, purify. 4. Wake nowhere near dawn, windows open, listen. The leaves, noise of nothing catastrophic, just this deciduous rain rinse of lavish and shameless. And one more that I will read that is in a new full-length manuscript. Taken, the manuscript is about a town in Massachusetts where I was born, Athol, Massachusetts. So this poem is called Fringed Loosestrife. Fringed loosestrife, monarchs, dragonflies, swallowtails swarm this Tool Town neighborhood. Townspeople let wildflowers loose again to meadow and thrum. A volunteer mows a path through a mass of blackberries pricking and ripening. Yellow throats populate thickets. Inside the tilting bird boxes, a sleepful breathing undisturbed. Here, a blossom on a hairless stem, thin as a straw a child sips water from. 5 petals drenched with sun and fringe of a sun-dressed hem. Crimson stains corolla's wheel, anthers reach, baby's fists. Bee's tongue blossoms floral oil, stung and the stinger flown, on your knees, your nose in loose strife. Thank you for giving me a spotlight. I think you did that, Katarina. And next up is Luisa Igloria. We already introduced her, so welcome, Luisa.
Thank you again, and thank you for so generously including me in the reading section too. I will finish with a poem that is in the anthology, and the first poem that I have decided just now to read is a poem that I wrote on January 9 of this year. Some of you might know that I keep a daily writing practice. I have written at least a poem a day for the last 15 years and going. So this is my January 9 poem. It is called A Difficult Hope. Listen, when philosophers talk about their memories of bunkers and bleak years, but also when they speak of hope. Envisioning the future helps us act in certain ways, so we might make that future happen. A world where mycelial nets underfoot give irrefutable proof of the impossibility of borders, where fields become living archives of species we can name again in our own tongues. I'm not saying that atrocity did not happen, that there are those who didn't willfully withhold aid as they blitzed from world to world, torching what they found for sport. I'm not saying forget how destruction proceeds in methodical and not random ways. The call to violence at times can sound deceptively like prayer. A congregation gathered on the steps turns into a mob. History is a record. Poems gather inventory of what we lose, grieve, survive. This is how we remember. Thank you. And I am going to read the poem that is in the anthology. So we decided to divide the book into 4 sections whose titles were inspired directly by section headings in the National Nature Assessment. So we have Nature and Well-Being, Self and Community, Nature and Heritage, Nature, Risk and Change, and the last section, Now and in the Future, Bright Spots. So my contribution to the book is in the 4th and final section. And partly it was described by a sort of science feature. I probably heard it on NPR while I was driving, listening to the radio. Um, anyway, I hope it also speaks to the idea of mutuality, which a lot of us are recognizing is so important, how we need it so much more today. So this is the poem, excuse me, on page 294, if you have your book and you want to follow. Bat's French Kiss with Mouthfuls of Blood. A pair tiptoe fly across the soft dark, then do a kind of running jump, landing on the cow's nape. What does it feel, or does it feel at all, or is it mostly unbothered? It only shakes its head a little, tethered as it is to the fence, when they begin their blood feast. Saint Augustine wrote, "Inhabit, and you shall be inhabited. Dwell, and you shall be dwelt in." You could call it love, this investment in another, this shared appetite for what sustains life. But the bats are only being true to their nature. If they lick each other's mouths, it's precious currency rather than a kiss. Not ardor, but a social bond. It's possible to languish from a lack of love, even die of a broken heart. In many accounts, the love-struck sport a pallor akin to being drained of blood. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Luisa y Gloria. Now, next up is Karina Lutz. Karina, is it possible that your last name is under a different one in the because I'm not seeing your, whoops, I accidentally removed your spotlight. I'm not seeing your bio in the book.
I think it's not alphabetical, but it is
Oh, here it
LUT.
is. Here it is. Okay, I found it. It is actually where it's supposed to be. It just doesn't start with your name. Okay, let me, if you don't mind, I'll read that. As
Okay.
a sustainable energy and environmental advocate, Karina Lutz helped secure passage of sustainable energy legislation, thwart a proposed megaport, and restore wetlands in her watershed. She has also worked as an editor, journalist, and energy magazine publisher. Her poems are widely published, including a full-length collection, Preliminary Visions. Welcome, Karina Lutz.
Thank you. And thank you, all the organizers and editors and poets. I'm so honored to be part of the anthology. I'm going to start with the one that's in the anthologies on page 158, if anybody cares to read along. It's called Wilderness, Frontier, Desert. The wilderness is where the wild is. The wilderness is empty. The wilderness is our salvation. The wilderness must be saved. The wilderness is where one is exiled to. The wilderness is where tribes live. The frontier is wide open. La frontera is closed to passage. The frontier is an edge. La frontera is a region. The frontier encloses us. La frontera closes us out. The desert is empty. The desert is rare habitat. The desert is deadly. The desert is alive. The desert is a sacrifice zone. The desert must be saved. The desert was an ocean. The desert is parched. The desert will be ocean again. We have reached the edge. There are no edges on a sphere, no borders in atmosphere. Wilderness is the salvation of the world. Wilderness is better off without humans, so some think. And the next poem I'm going to read is called Conversation with Fillory. It was originally published in, it was originally published somewhere else, but it's about to be in my new collection that's coming out through Nature Culture, which you Massachusetts folks will maybe know. So this is Hillary's other name is Erodium secutarium. Here is the clock plant. Some call it fillory. Its seed tails, the styles, spiral around each other in a long, slight twine. 5 petals turn to 5 seeds and 5 styles looking like one spike. On a hot day, the styles will peel apart and pop into the air. The seeds spring, tails following, the pointy end of each seed going first, tiny javelins. The point might penetrate the ground, but if it doesn't, no problem. Like a ribbon slid across a scissor blade, the style curls up into a corkscrew, and as it turns, it points and augers the seed into the ground. Next rain, the style unfurls. Next sun, the style spirals tight again, screwing the seed deeper into the still moist soil. Under hot sun, above hard pan soil, as the green of the coastal grasslands turns tan along Zayante Canyon, bright orange poppies litter their petals. My lover and I lie a blanket between our thin skins and the prickly plants who will stay the summer. He picks up a living cockspring, a seed and its tail curling like a corkscrew, tail spiraling out into a tiny funnel. He twirls the seed between thumb and finger, finds more on the ground. It's a clock plant, I say, although time is null. Pink lavender flowers float a hand height above the ground on their almost invisible stems. I tell him Fillory's story, how it augurs this hard pan, how it pops and curls. Stems and blossoms run through his fingers, and he strokes the long styles of a flower already bloomed and gone. We gaze into, slip into each other's astonishment as a seed sprung from Fillory hits him right in the middle of the forehead.
Oh, thank you so much, Karina Lutz. And is Ed Meek here by any chance? He would be up next if he is. So if Ed is here, please unmute.
I can't find anybody named Ed.
Okay, no worries then. We're going to go to you, Carla. So we're going to leap over Ed and go to Carla Schwartz.
Okay. I'm here.
Okay, super. Okay, so Carla Schwartz's recent upcoming curations include Contemporary Haibun Online, Modern Haiku, New Verse Review, North Dakota Quarterly, One Art, and Rattle. She received the New England Poetry Center's Cummings Prize. Is that right? NEPC's Cummings Prize. Find her books, Intimacy with the Wind, Signs of Marriage, and Mother, One More Thing at carlapoet.com. Welcome, Carla Schwartz.
Thank you so much, Kelly, and everybody who is involved in the anthology. This poem is a triolet. It's a formal poem that is in the anthology, and it has some repetition in it, and it should be you'll hear it. You'll hear the repetition, and it's called Knotweed Triolet. Of course, the knotweed shoots up like a spear of asparagus, the leaves close-fisted in prayer. I wish the knotweed were attractive to deer. As one more knotweed shoots up like a spear, another pops up here and there and here. 40 more knotweed stalks fill a field where just before no knotweeds shot up like spears. Their leaves, like me, close-fisted in prayer. And this next poem will bring us a little bit more to end of summer. It's called This Lake Responds to the Climate Crisis. This lake, its wind-roughed surface, shored with swaying branches and sunlight, just beginning its golden hour glimmer of equinox, touching the far points of distant islands. This lake is not itself. This lake in drought shows off all its shoreline teeth, its exposed gum lines, high water stripes marking the stones. Docks poised like Little old ladies lift their petticoats, tiptoe gingerly into the shallows. Each time I come or go, I have to lower my baggage into my kayak 3.5 feet down. It takes some kind of gymnastics to vault into the boat before I can paddle out, away from what hides just below the surface. Rocks, damaging rocks. Thank you.
Are you going to read one more, Carla?
I could. I read two.
Oh, you did read two. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. I got
it's
confused
okay.
by
Mine are shorter.
that.
I don't think there's
Thank
anything
you.
wrong with
Thank
that.
you,
Yeah,
Carla Schwartz. I
thank you.
appreciate that. All right. So sorry, I kind of lost myself there. All right. So, um, in the interest of time, I think, Louisa, what I would like to do, is really just check in with you momentarily and ask about impressions you have. Any impressions you have about the impact of the anthology. So it's gone out into the world, but first of all, it's really gone out into the world before it was published because this
Online.
online because so many poets contributed to the collection of poems about nature that you all had created on the website. You selected, I think, from that amazing contribution.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's still available for people to
It
read,
is.
right?
It is.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
you reached out, you all looked at all those poems that people posted and said, and chose the ones that you chose. So what I think is so interesting is it's an anthology. So it is a collection, so it had this sort of massive life and existence by drawing a lot of attention
Mhm.
before
Mhm.
the publication. And now it's actually also a publication. So it's out there and you're doing readings. So I think I just love to ask if you have any, I don't know, spontaneous reflections on impacts, how you feel that the anthology has impacted people, has impacted nature, or has just
Mhm.
impacted
Mhm.
you,
Yeah.
or the people you know, the other editors.
That's a great question. And I hope that that is an ongoing question so that we can also assess moving forward what else those effects might take the form of. One thing we saw very early, because we had our anthology launch in Kent, Ohio, through the auspices of the the Wick Poetry Center at Kent State. And right after, the day after the launch, David Hassler was able to arrange with the Cleveland Public Library to host we had posters made of many of the poems. Not everything, of course. Again, there is the challenge, the materiality of translating poems into objects, right? So we tried to get a good collection. I think we had a dozen. My memory about the number is a little blurry, but we had those posters. They were about 6 feet, 7 feet tall posters with photography and the poem superimposed across it. And that was on 3 floors of the Cleveland Public Library. And then this was not anything that we told them to do, but they decided that they would have tables on one of those floors where patrons of the library could come, take a look at the poems, and write their reactions. So I think the Wick Poetry Center also donated some postcards because they run a number of poetry programs, and people were just very enthusiastic about that type of interaction, to sit down, meditate on a poem, think about what it meant to them in their actual lives. And that kind of impact, I think, is a tangible thing that you can see. And you see the excitement, especially among younger readers, younger patrons at the library. They were drawing, it was just very beautiful and joyful to see that the idea of nature and how important it is in our lives is not just an abstraction. It's a very real and tangible thing. So that's one example I can pull up. And I think that we got a couple of interviews on the radio, and just very different kinds of audiences were listening to the news about the anthology, and that also gave us so much hope about who we were reaching. We didn't want to reach out to just one type of reader, and the more diverse the readership is, I think the better we feel about how it is talking to people in the ground experience of their own lives. So this is not an academic anthology. I think we were encouraging writers, encouraging people to really write out of their own experience of nature, not as some kind of artistic exercise, but really to just think about what that meant for them. And initially, when we were talking to scientists who helped us with the previous anthology that Eileen Casineto and I co-edited a year and a half before this came out, Dear Human at the Edge of Time, one of the scientists said, "Why are you doing this?" And I had a very simple answer. I said, "I have a grandson now, and I really worry about the kind of future that we are leaving to those that hopefully will survive us." So I hope that I didn't ramble on too much.
You've really rambled on in a really inspiring way. I'm thinking about being just one of the contributors, and so grateful to Jen and to Katarina, my colleagues here, and the ability to share the anthology in this setting. And if every poet, and there are just so many poets in this anthology, and if every one of us sort of worked to arrange a reading, I mean, it's so exponential because
Yeah,
there is
yeah,
so much excitement and
yeah,
interest in all ages about nature. I mean, I
yeah,
can't believe how many poets in this
yeah,
anthology that I actually know personally or know of their work. It's like,
yeah.
poets are such a natural